Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, my friends from all across the happy little globe today, and welcome back to Los Monsteros Zoo. So, today, we're back in the dry area. In case if you don't already know, I like to say this every single time. I apologize if you're a returning viewer, but I gotta cater to our new friends over here. In case if you guys don't already know, our India section in Los Monsteros Zoo is based off of the seasons of India, which comprise of both the dry and the wet seasons. Today, we're actually back in the dry seasons, finishing it up with one last dry habitat, and this one is for nilgai. No, not nilgai. Oh my god. Indian rhinos and blackbuck, both two of my very favorite animals. In case if you guys don't already know, I was so lucky enough to get the opportunity to feed Indian rhinos back in Zoo Tampa, so that was wicked fun. And blackbuck are just really damn good looking. I really do love blackbucks. They're so beautiful. And especially in this habitat, it really shows off how beautiful they are. When they move in herds, they have some beautiful color dynamics that work in between the male and the female, and it's just a really good looking habitat in the end. So in the end, I really wanted to have this be a naturalistic habitat, not really focusing too much on ruins and stuff, as the Eld's deer habitat really did focus on, or with any overarching themes. Really, I wanted to keep it nice and basic, maybe give your mind a little bit of a palate cleanser, and really focus on the naturalistic beauty of these animals. So, a lot of this stuff will kind of concern along the lines of grasses. It'll concern around foliage, bushes, big trees. So essentially that is what we're working with today. And I really want to have these beautiful safari pack fences be really emblematic of how natural this habitat should be in the end. I actually do make sure to make it nice and in line with the way that the land works and whatnot. And in case if you guys don't already know, I already laid out the pathway beforehand. I really want to have this be a nice little loop that brings you back into the elephant house. I don't know when I'll do that elephant house. In fact, I'm very scared too, but we'll figure that out sooner rather than later. I want to have the other elephant habitat be more so along the wet season, so we'll kind of work some of that jazz in there. And I do want to get one last animal in here. I want to get the Bengal tiger in here. Granted, it probably wouldn't be a Bengal tiger because those are pretty hard to come by, but it'd probably be something along of maybe a Sumatran for a stand-in, or even a zoo mix. We'll figure that out when we actually do get there. Now, what I wanted to focus on over here was making this dry looking grass. So essentially I take Nick's beach grass and I also mix that with the regular drin grass, and it creates this beautiful looking effect. I do apologize if the shadows look a little wonky right there. That's just how the game renders it when it's it's in between LOD 1 and 3. So I think it's LOD 2, believe it or not. Essentially what that means, all items in the game have different render distances. So essentially when render distances happen, it kind of breaks things down to a point where the game is more easily able to run it, and it doesn't look as bad because you're already so far away. This is a little bit of a tech tutorial if it comes to all that jazz. Alright, so essentially it creates low poly versions and low quality versions of things when you get far away. And essentially that's what's happening with the shadows. It kind of makes it feel like it's bigger than it actually is, so the game thinks there's more items there that would have shadows. Unfortunately, that's not really the case, but we kind of pad it out with some other foliage throughout it, so that really does help it even it out. Gives a lot more color variation. In turn, we take something that the game kind of does against us, and we have ourselves work in that case to better the game as a whole. I'm not sure if that makes sense, but hey, I think it makes sense. Moving on through here, adding our beautiful California palm trees, just as a way to get some nice dinghies in the background, or rather weenies, but they really do help to sell the vibe of the area. I originally wanted to have this kind of naturalistic looking structure for the actual, viewing area, but I do settle on a nice kind of grayish looking, viewing tent. Nothing really too crazy. It's just a nice looking one in the end. It's very clean. I gotta go back and add some like leaves to the top of it because it is under a nice big acacia tree. So I do need to fix that later down the line, but we'll actually get there when we do get there. I'm also adding some various things to help keep the structure a lot more supported and kind of break up the monotony of that grayish color palette. In hindsight, I probably should have made this a little bit more purple in line with the rest of the jazz that we have going on without the, like, you know, throughout the entire habitat. But moving on through here, I essentially want to have it look good from the bottom as well. So we do add some, like, you know, supports down below that don't really mimic every single beam that's happening up top. But I have it every so often where it does make sense to where it would actually be. So we kind of rotate that on itself just a little bit, and it looks pretty damn good in the end. We kind of darken it from the rest of the palette, so it does have that nice variation, and it feels like such a nice place just to chill out. I love having these big viewing canopies over areas that overarch like savannas and stuff, because it really does look so freaking beautiful in the end. In the end, it really does help to sell. Yeah, this is a nice big open savanna, and it really does help this whole area as well because we don't really have a savanna area in here. The elephant habitat, I guess you could say, counts as one, but even then, I don't really think it does. I think it's just an elephant habitat. They're kind of like in two different realms for me. And one of the big suggestions I did get from Bro Nation, I do need to search out the people who actually suggested these things. Pardon me for just 1 second while I actually do scroll up in the server. I do need to give shoutouts to Drivet, Liam, and Alkaline X Andy for some wonderful suggestions for the habitat, be it logs, mud, and making the tree a little bit more elevated. I'm also adding some rhino safe fencing over there just because I want to make sure that the rhinos would never go up that steep hill. Granted, they wouldn't really to begin with, but I want to make sure that we have all those precautions in place in order to prevent all that stuff. And I do need to give a quick shout out to Caesar Creates for those beautiful dead trees. Those came out beautifully, and we even do some of our own over here, just as a way to really help frame the big ombu tree a lot better. By the way, gotta give a quick shout out to my buddy Forge for the ombu tree idea. Really wanting to have that be a big standout thing in the habitat, make a nice big weenie. You guys know how much I love my weenies in Planet Zoo. They're always so helpful. But moving on through here, I'm also making the backstage a little bit, nothing too crazy for our black buck. The bull, I guess you could say bull Indian rhino from over there is back, like in the other habitat that you see kind of like in some of the speed build. I do apologize, I didn't really build for him just yet. Maybe down the line I'll actually have a cleanup episode where I actually do cover all those missing areas. Maybe I'll look more into, like, you know, specific rhino backstage and whatnot, and seeing what we could actually do for all that jazz. But hey, that brings us to the end of the episode. Really quick one today. I was just so happy to make this, and I was so happy with how well it worked out, and it looks so beautiful in the end. Those logs right there are upside down dragon trees, and they're so fun to use. Oh my gosh, I used those back in Bonita Springs, and I was like, you know what, gotta do that trick again. It was really fun. But essentially, that brings us to the end of this episode. I do want to thank you guys once again for stopping by. I really do appreciate you guys' support all the way around. We're in the DLC season as this video comes out, so it's just a very awesome thing just to have the whole community here once again. I know it kind of ebbs and flows every so often, but it's really fun to get some nice familiar faces back on the channel once again, as well as some wonderful new ones. Speaking of new faces, in case if you guys do like the content that I put out, be sure to hit that beautiful red button down below. It always does help out, and it's completely free if you would believe that. Anyways, I'm gonna leave you guys right there. Enjoy the rest of the cinematics, and I can't wait to see you guys in the next episode of Los Monsteros Zoo. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you all then. Bye bye now.